Hi there, this is Jennifer. Welcome to Crafting in Carrollville. Let's get right into our project. What I'm doing here is I'm disassembling two 8x10 frames. I'm going to set the glass aside, use it for a different project. But for now, I'm painting out what was the backs of those frames with white paint. Doesn't really matter what white paint, just whatever I have on hand. I'm going to decoupage with a napkin on top of both of these boards when I get them painted and they're dry. I know I promised y'all a thrift haul soon, and that will be coming up, but this video has 3 projects on it, and that's about as long as I wanted to make it, so we'll save the thrift haul for later in the week. I've got it all ready to go. So I'm using this American flag napkin that I got at Hobby Lobby. I think they were 50% off. And I really, at the end of the project, you're really only going to see that field of stars that's on the napkin. The stripes I'm really just putting on because it's easier for me to see my entire project as I go. I'm going to be covering up those stripes with some castings from silicone molds. So you'll see that as we go. For right now, I'm going to use Mod Podge to decoupage that napkin down to my board here. I really love this season. I love making patriotic projects. I love the Americana theme, and I feel like that's something that I want to include in all of my shows. I just want to have a little section that makes people feel like they're home. We get a lot of first responders, policemen and firemen and military and people like that at our shows, and so they scoop up that Americana. They really love it, and I do too. And I'm always super thankful when I see them. So I've thinned my Mod Podge down quite a bit. We talk about that just about every video when I use it, that I really prefer it to be quite thin, almost runny. And I'm just using whatever is left on my brush to go over the top of my napkin. I'm not re-wetting my brush. I don't want it to be super wet. I just want it to be stuck on there. That's all. Not trying to give it a bath, just trying to stick it. That's it. Those edges are going to be up under the frame, so you're not going to have to worry about your edges. Now I'm just going to use other pieces of that napkin to finish out the stripes. This is completely unnecessary. If you do a project like this, I really didn't need to do that. But for me, I just sort of wanted to have a picture under my picture, and I felt like it would help me keep things lined up better. And you'll see what I mean as we go with that. Now I have a stash of castings that I make kind of in my downtime. And these are them. So I have them in a Tupperware, and I'm going to be using all of these different molds to make those stripes in my flag. So I'm painting some of them red and some of them white. This project was not my original idea. This came from Courtney Holbrook. She has a business called The Ticking Stripe, and so in the description box there'll be a link for her Facebook business page, and also she is a contributor over on hometalk.com. If you're not following HomeTalk, you might want to look at that, and just there are hundreds of projects and simple projects for the most part that you could make on your own, and a lot of them have videos attached, so that will help. But if you can look at something and see how it was done, then HomeTalk is definitely very helpful. Now, I alluded to this in my last video. We talked about Durham's wood putty and the fact that it could be used in molds. So that's what I've done here. I've mixed up a batch of it. Just mix your wood putty with water. A water putty it's called, I'm sorry. You just mix the powder with water, and I've made it about pancake consistency here, maybe a little bit thicker, and I'm just pouring it in my molds. Now, let's talk about some pros and cons. Pros are that it's super cheap. You can buy 4 pounds of it for $10.68 at Lowe's. That's the cheapest place I found it. And if you can't afford $24.99 for a box of resin, which is quite pricey, this is a viable option. The cons would be that it is more brittle than resin for sure. I mean, it doesn't, you'll see. I feel like I could have fixed that problem by making my batch up a little thicker, but I wanted just to be able to pour it, so sort of ease of use was my goal here. But again, if you wanted to mix it up thicker and then maybe use like a popsicle stick to scrape it out of your cup or whatever, I feel like it would probably dry much harder. And please notice when I demold my castings here, it works out much better if you turn the mold upside down like I've done here and like fold it away from your castings. I still break a couple of them because honestly, like they are not bendy at all. I mean, if you take, your resin castings out of the mold, they are still super bendy and you can, bend them around things. These are never going to be bendy. So that would be another con, is that, you have to be able to put these on a flat surface. I feel like, honestly, this medium would probably work a lot better in your smaller molds. But, try it. And this is something that I have in my workshop anyway. You've seen me use this across several projects now because, I actually use it for its intended purpose pretty often. But I wanted to try this because, listen, crafting is expensive. And I know that not everybody does it for resale. Sometimes we just craft for our own pleasure, and that's okay too. But we want it to be affordable. So, and believe me, once upon a time, I couldn't have afforded to craft at the level that I do now. So, I am completely aware of the fact that crafting can be expensive. But this might make it a little more doable for some of y'all. And they look just as good. You can see it's retaining all the detail of all the molds. So it's a good option. Now here we go. I'm going to do what I said. I'm going to use those castings to create those stripes across my flag. The red one goes on the bottom and a red one goes on top. This isn't an exact rendition of an American flag. There are not 50 stars and there are not 13 stripes, but this is art, so it doesn't have to be accurate. It just has to represent the idea. That's why we do art. So some of those molds are too long, and so I have to trim them down a little bit. Some of them are too short, so I have to cut up other pieces and fit them in. So you'll see as I go that I just trim them to accommodate the space where I want them to fit. I also paint out the white stripes on the bottom of my project because I don't want that white space to be there between the stripes. So that's what I'm doing there. And you'll see I come in with my heat gun and dry the paint because ain't nobody got time to watch paint dry. Anyway, I hope y'all are doing well. Thank you so much, so much for really interacting with me on my last video. I got a lot of comments. I got many new subscribers, a lot of great feedback. I really appreciate that. It apparently really helps your YouTube channel. I mean, how would I know? Honestly, but we really have grown in this last week, and I'm so thankful. We are so close to being able to apply for monetization. And that's super exciting. Like when I started YouTube, it was not with the intention of starting a new career. Trust me. Like I'm good. Like I'm doing what I do, but I feel like I have some stuff to share in the crafting world, and I really just love it so much that I want to share with you. I want to show you, what it is I've been up to and what I've created, and I want to hear all your great ideas as well. So if you like, share, comment, subscribe, all of those things, that will help me so much. And also come over to Facebook and Instagram, get to know each other on there. I think that's just a better platform for interaction. And I would actually like to start a crafting group on Facebook, but we got to get some more followers here first. I also have a goal of creating a website where I can sell my creations, my artwork in particular. If you go back and watch my previous videos, you'll see that I also produce fine art. That's my first passion. it don't always have time to do it at the rate that I want to, because it does take time. But I do want to establish a website in the future to sell my artwork, my crafter, my crafted things like that. What I don't want to do is sell my thrifted stuff. I do not want to do that. That is the last thing on my mind. My thrifted stuff I generally buy for myself to upcycle, or I buy it for my home. So I might show you a thrift haul, but I guarantee you it's not because I want you to buy it from me. It's because it's going to show up in a subsequent video where I show you what I did with it. So that's my goal here. My husband would like freak out if I told him that I wanted to resell almost, because he knows that it would just turn into I'd have like my own bin store here. I almost did. I don't want to talk about it. Okay. I'm using hot glue and wood glue here to burn. And then my next word was going to be down, so that wouldn't have been good. But to glue down my stripes here. Some of those stripes, like I said, they're either long or short. So these ones are short, and I am trimming them down so that they butt up nicely and the pattern is continuous. But these aren't IOD molds, so they weren't made to fit together the way IOD molds do. But never fear, I come in with hot glue and I just fill in those seams, and you would never know that they are there when you see the finished product. So there's a solution to every problem. We're crafters. We have to know that there is a solution to every problem. So, and if you can't think of it, I'll tell you. If I can't think of it, you tell me. Oh, did I mention that I got this idea from Courtney Holbrook? I think I did. I think I said that already. I have made this voiceover like 5 times now, just so you know. And I don't know why. I've never had trouble doing a voiceover until like tonight. So, it's probably me. It's been like, I don't know about y'all, but everybody I know just kind of had a week last week. Like it was a hard week last week. I'm going to say that. But this weekend was good. I did get to relax a little bit and spend some time with my husband and my son. I actually took my son out to lunch today, and that was nice. Anyway, so here we are. We have all of our pieces down. Now we're just going to come in with this Dixie Belle's Best Dang Brown Wax. And, y'all know what wax does to these molds. It just makes every little detail pop, and that's what I'm after here. Going to take my brush and push the wax down into all of those details. And then I'm going to come in with a baby wipe and wipe it back so that the tops of my stripes are the color that they're supposed to be, so that they're red and white. Also, when you use the baby wipe to wipe down the wax, you're going to want to come back in with a dry paper towel, because it can leave, a muddy texture. It can muddy that wax a little bit, and you don't want that. You don't want a muddy project. I'm also using that wax to take the orange tone out of that frame. I like it so much better when it has some brown wax on it. It brings that wood grain out so much more, and it also eliminates that orange tint that the wood has. I would like to thank Karen for my frames. She had her husband drop off a few boxes of frames at my house, and I completely appreciate that. So we're working with free materials here, which is always great. Free is good. So tell your friends to bring you all their junk, and they will. And then you have to tell them to stop bringing all your junk, because your husband will say, you got to stop getting so much junk. Now, I say that like my husband's some kind of bad guy, but he is so not. He is so easygoing about all my ridiculous things that I do. He just trusts that I know what I'm doing. I don't know why, but he does. So he's very tolerant. And not just of me, but he's just a tolerant person in general. He's a great guy. I'm hoping one day he'll make a guest appearance in one of my videos. He did in the, if you go back and watch my wood burning video, he did, but it was just his arms. He's got great arms, but that was it, just his arms. So anyway, and look, Dixie's not even in this video. I haven't seen Dixie once, and normally all this stuff happens behind me and I don't catch it till I'm watching it back. I think I did see my other dog in the background, but I have not seen Dixie yet, which could be a scary thing because she's a busy girl. Anyway, I'll just keep on talking and entertaining you while you watch me wax this project. I really love the way these turned out. I think they are just so beautiful. I love the way that the wax does exactly what we want it to do. I made 4 of those. I did finish the backs. I covered them with brown paper, and then I put a sawtooth hanger in each one. I meant to show you that, but apparently I edited it out. So there we go. That's on my kitchen wall. I hung those up for myself to look at. Now, here we are. I'm working on this washboard. I picked this up at the bins, so it must have been, probably $1. It's pretty light. They sell things by the weight at our bins. And so I actually got 2 of them. This is the first one that I'm working on. I'm just painting it out with, I think this is ivory. This is Waverly chalk paint in the color ivory, I think. Anyway, I'm just going to put on 2 layers of this paint. Again, I'm going to decopage this project, so it's not super important that my paint job underneath there is perfect, but definitely I want to get full coverage on the wood parts on the outer frame there of my piece for sure. So just giving it a good paint job. That's what I'm doing there. And you're going to see I'm going to decopage onto this. The paper that I'm using is from Zazzle. We've talked about that before. I really can't, Zazzle's a great resource if you're not using it. They have something called, I forget whether it's called Zazzle Plus or Zazzle Black, it used to be called, and you can pay $9.99. It was $9.99. Now, don't quote me. Everything's gone up. Like, I don't know. Maybe eggs are $9.99 right now. I don't really know, but because we get ours from a farmer. But anyway, I will say that it's a great deal if it is $9.99 because it provides you free shipping on all of your orders for an entire year. And I feel like that's a pretty good deal. So, and I order from them pretty frequently. If it's not my artwork that I'm using or a graphic that I got from Creative Fabrica, then it's decoupage paper from Zazzle. And this is their lightweight paper. It's 10-pound paper. It's thinner than most of the paper that I order from there, but I feel like the thinner paper was definitely right for this project because you're going to see I'm going to get it in all of those ridges, and so I need the paper to be super flexible to be able to do that. You can see I've cut it apart and I'm putting the writing on the top of my pane there inside that little window. I've just used my fingers to press it down into that area. And now I'm going to use my decoupage paper. Decoupage paper. My Mod Podge. I'm tired. Like, what time is it? It's 9:32. I stay up till midnight every night, so it's early for me, but I'm still tired. It's just the way it is. So anyway, I'm going to use my thin down Mod Podge to decoupage this paper onto the washboard. Oh, and I got to tell you about these washboards. So I have had them in my workshop for years, and I've just never even looked at them. I finally got them out, and I really gave them a good look. First of all, they are real vintage washboards, which, here I am crafting on them. Silly me. Anyway, they were from Columbus, Ohio, and those Ohioans, I don't know if they was really onto something or not, but these are like special washboards for your delicates, like this is the delicate cycle of washboards, and they are for you like your under things and your scarves and things like that. Anyway, so it says this size will conveniently fit in a bucket or a pail or a lavatory, which I'm almost positive is a toilet. So I mean, don't do that. Don't do that. And then it also says on the back that I've painted out, it also says that this size will fit conveniently in your travel bag or your suitcase. So I don't know if that like really took off like in America. Was that a thing? Like you carry your washboard to the hotel? I don't really know. I just thought it was hilarious because I would think if you were well off enough to travel at that time, you would like be well enough off to take your clothes to a launderer or something. I don't know how it worked. We weren't there. I feel like we should like all go hug our washers right now, like get up and do that, because I cannot imagine washing everything that gets washed in a household throughout the week on a washboard. Like seriously, it makes me so thankful for my LG washing machine, for real. And who doesn't love a little irony and art? Like this is a pig on a washboard. So I feel like there's always room for some funny, irony and artwork. I love that. One of the projects I love to do, and I haven't done them lately, is I put roosters on the big alarm clocks with bells. I put roosters on those because, it's ironic. Like, who doesn't love irony? Anyway, you can see I'm just wetting my brush here, and I'm pushing that paper into every single crease. I'm pushing it down. Not only are there ridges on the washboard, there's also ridges on the ridges, so it's very textured. That's why this is for your delicates, because it has like it's like ruffles. It's got ridges, but it's got ridges on its ridges. It's listen, like clearly, whoever made this was a mad genius. I just think it's funny how far we've come in technology. My kids would have no idea what this was. But that's not entirely like the school system's fault necessarily. Even my kids went to Christian school, so they got a pretty good start education-wise. But the first time they ever saw me get my ironing board out, they asked me if it was a sewing machine. So I must not have been ironing clothes. I don't know. Anyway, I thought this was going to be really difficult. I'd actually never decopaged onto such an uneven surface, but it worked out perfectly. The only thing I would say, you have to be careful that you don't fold the paper as you go. That was something I noticed, that I had to keep pulling the bottom of the paper so that it wasn't folded into those ridges. So that would be the only thing that I would caution you about. But what you find out is that with a little practice, and after you do things a few times, guess what? It's just not that hard. And keep in mind too that everything that we make and that you've seen me make is a process. I didn't do it all at once. It was a process of several steps. So always give yourself that. Always remember that, be patient with yourself, give yourself some grace, and just do your crafts one step at a time, and they'll turn out exactly like you want them to. Oh, that was Sully in the background there. She's our old lady of the house. She's older than all of us. Like, she's 77. So, she's 11. So she's 77. So she's like our grandma. So we're super nice to her. Now I'm just using my 5-way tool here to distress this board a little bit. I like to use this to distress when I don't want it to be obviously sanded. I just want it to look like it was chipped right where a washboard would be chipped, like we would know. But around the edges makes sense to me. So that's what I did here. I just went around all the edges and scraped off some of the paint all the way down to the wood. And there were a million ways I thought about finishing this. Like, seriously, I could put ribbon on it. I could, put greenery on it, whatever. But I just totally decided to keep it simple, because Sometimes I think the artwork just speaks for itself, and that was enough for me. So I see the inside of my leg isn't painted there, but don't worry, I come back, I paint everything. I paint the back. Somebody asked me in my last video if I paint the backs of my projects, and absolutely, I paint the backs of every single project because that's the way it's done. I craft for resale, and painting, half a project is just not acceptable. Anyway, so that's how it turned out. It's hanging on my front door. Now, I am mixing up some resin. We made some ladders last week of those magazine racks. We used the spindles that came from a magazine racks to make 6 ladders. And I said that I was going to show you how I finished those ladders. I'm going to finish half of them just the way I always do, just straight up farmhouse ladders with no embellishments. But I'm also going to finish 3 of them with some seashell molds that I'm pouring right now. This is an IOD mold. If you know, IOD molds are just superior in every way, but I'm mixing up the resin here. It's just equal parts A and B. You stir it for about 30 seconds and then you pour it into your molds here. I'm going to fill up this entire mold, and I'm not going to use all of these shells in this particular craft, but I will put them in my stash and use them for different things as I go. The great thing about resin is it really does set up in 5 to 10 minutes, probably more like 5 minutes in the heat of Florida. It's seriously, I know it's been hot everywhere, but it's been unusually hot already in Florida. So, it's going to be a hot day when you wake up and it's already 89 degrees at 7 o'clock in the morning. So, not complaining because my workshop is air conditioned. I'm just saying that there are a lot of people in Florida that work outside, and I do not know how they do it, including my husband. So I'm just going to wait for those molds to set up, and I'm going to start working with them while they are still pliable. I'm going to wrap them around the sides of my ladder. I'm just going to just one side is all I'm going to do here. It's a blanket ladder. You're not going to see the sides necessarily anyway. If you use it, if you hang things on it, you're not going to see a lot of what I'm putting on here. So I'm only putting it where I aim for it to be seen. Let's just say that. So I use a combination of hot glue and wood glue to put all those molds onto the wood, kind of clean it up as I go. The paint that I've used on my ladder is folk art paint. It's some sort of coastal color. I forget what it's called. Anyway, and I'm bending those molds around the side of the ladder there. I want them to sort of look like, they're bent around the surface. So, and now I'm painting them with chalk paint, just white chalk paint, because I'm going to come in with some wax again, of course, and bring out all those details. Really, really, really love how this turned out. I think it's just enough, and you'll see it's just enough. So these are our finished projects. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope that you'll like, subscribe, share, comments, all the things that are going to help me be successful here on YouTube. I so appreciate all the nice comments and feedback. I hope to hear from each and every one of you this week. I'll be watching for all those comments, and I'll be back next week with that thrift haul that I promised, and definitely a couple great projects. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.